Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alright, this video is going to be different. I've done a video for a few weeks now, or a couple weeks. This video will be different. I'm just going to talk about, or I'll call this video Thoughts on Virtual Classes, or Thoughts on Online Learning. Because that's the big fad, I would say, nowadays. That's what everyone's excited about and sees of the future. And I do too. I think online teaching has a bright future. But I think students and teachers need to stop and think about how this actually works and how can we make it beneficial and practical. And the question is, they talk about this in teaching courses and basically in pedagogy. The teacher-student, like, is it student to student? Is it teacher to student? My understanding is this, from my experience, because I've been teaching online classes for several years now. I've been teaching Arabic one-on-one for years now, but I also recently have been doing online lectures in English, like teaching English to a large group of people, 20 students or more online. I think this is what I think so far. If you have a small group of people, then it can be teacher-student engagement. If you have a group of, say, 1 to 5 people, you can have a conversation. You can have what you call a conversation class, or you can have a one-on-one lesson, because it's very, very easy for the student to engage with the teacher, or that small group of students to engage with the teacher. It's very, very easy and straightforward, and everyone gets a chance, and everyone has the the teacher does not press. He doesn't find it difficult to dedicate time to each student. That's what I'm trying to say. Whereas when you get larger groups, it just gets harder and harder and harder, right? Whereas once you start get to, I would say maybe 10, maybe even less than that, but definitely 10 onwards, it's basically teacher to student. That should be officially a lecture in the linguistic sense of the teacher is just presenting his material, talking about what he has to talk about, and the students are just quiet, they're listening, and maybe at the end, they can ask questions. But when you have a larger group, I would say even 10 or more, you cannot have conversations and participation and people giving their opinions, because there's too many people. When it's online, there are issues with who has permission to speak, who has a microphone, you have connectivity issues. The internet doesn't always work out as well. I just don't think it's practical. I think if you're going to have a large group, it has to be the case where the teacher is just lecturing, he's literally lecturing, and at the end, the students are silent throughout the class, and at the end, the students ask questions. Whereas with a smaller group, it's possible. I think another thing that bothers me about virtual classes, I like it. I think it's a good idea, and I think also when you have the idea of the large group, that also applies, for example, to lectures recorded and put on YouTube, because that's what you can do now. There are organizations and universities even, or teaching institutes nowadays, educational institutions nowadays. What they do is they have lectures recorded. So you watch like a series of lectures on YouTube, you take notes, and then you do an online exam. You do like an online multiple choice exam, for half an hour or something, right? And it's really hard to cheat because you only have a set amount of time to answer the question. You have to know the answer there, and then you answer it, you move on. It's all multiple choice, true or false, done. You won't have a chance to resort to your notes or your books or whatever it is. So I definitely think there's a future there. It's very, very efficient. It can definitely be done. Online universities, online recorded classes. And I think you can look at people like Jordan Peterson. That's one of his long-term ideas, the Canadian professor of psychology. As an English teacher, as a language teacher, I definitely think what I don't like about teaching virtual classes, especially when it's a large group of people, when I'm teaching a small group of people and I can actually hear what they're saying, I know how they're reacting to what I'm saying. I can hear it in their voice. They might chuckle, they might giggle, they might say something, say, oh yeah, I agree, that's right, good point, thank you. But when you have a large group of people, and not everyone has the ability to speak, not everyone has a microphone, people are merely typing, that's the only thing they can do, you can't actually see their faces. So you're talking the same way I am now, all right? Oddly enough, is what I'm doing in a YouTube video. don't know how you're reacting when you're watching this. I can't see your face. I have no idea who you are. I don't know what you look like. I know nothing. But this is a YouTube video. I can accept that. But when I'm teaching someone, I'm actually interacting with someone live. It is quite difficult because I don't know, especially when I have a large group. I'm talking, I'm presenting the material, I'm teaching, but I don't know how people are reacting, that is a drawback, because when you are teaching live and you can actually see your students, even if they're quiet, you can look at their body language, look at their facial expressions, you can tell, are they actually engaging with what you're saying? And then you can adjust accordingly. You think, okay, maybe I should speak slower, maybe I should speak faster, maybe I should change the subject, maybe I should move on to something else. You can get these messages just by looking at your students, just by looking at their body language, their facial expressions, and things like this. But you can't do that in a virtual class. So there are these drawbacks. Again, I think everything's a trade-off. There are certain benefits, there are certain, what can I say? There are advantages and disadvantages. There's the upside and the downside. So I think in conclusion, I'll stick to this for now. Some correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a virtual class is good if you want participation from the students and you want students to be fully engaged in the class and having a conversation and practicing their language skills, these kind of things. The class has to be small. It has to be 5 people average. Once you start getting above 5, no, more than 10, absolutely not. Whereas if you have a large class, then it should simply be a case of the teacher presenting the material, the students are silent, and at the end, they can ask questions. I think that's the only way forward, and Allah knows best. That's just my experience. Feel free to share your comments below, what you think, your opinion. Share your opinion below, and inshallah, I will see you guys soon in another video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.